Okay, all right. So I wanted to walk through how I use Kit for not only my business, but specifically in my agency for my clients, how I set up their Kit and email marketing. So what I do personally as a creator is I provide mentorship for solopreneurs, creative entrepreneurs, web designers, graphic designers, copywriters, small studios and agencies. I've been doing this for about 14 years, providing for my family this whole time. So I've learned a few things along the way. I by no means am the top expert in the game, but I've built a family first business that has provided for my family, and we've done quite well for ourselves. So I share my lessons in the mentorship. So I sell a mentorship, which is a monthly subscription. It's a monthly membership fee or an annual membership. And I have courses and whatnot from earlier seasons in my career, but I don't actively promote them. So I have the mentorship and I do services. I do done for you services, building out personalized marketing. I call it Creator Engines. It's the brand name. And the offer is either the newsletter engine or the authority engine. And so the newsletter engine is where I build out just your smart, automated, personalized newsletter, welcome sequence, pitch sequence, evergreen newsletter, repitch loop, and a whole bunch of really smart automations that happen just automatically in the background. So I do that. That's one piece. The bigger piece is the authority engine. So we do the full website, whether it's a website design or a website refresh that's focused on conversion optimization, right message, personalized survey design and implementation to gather data and personalized segmentation information about your audience so that we can personalize your newsletter and your website. And so we build out the entire strategy, we implement it, we launch it, and we help you refine it over time as well. So I call that methodology the Creator Engine. At least that's the brand. And so I do that for my business and I do it for my clients. So, people will find me through my videos, various podcasts I've been on. My own email list has grown over the years. And so I either have to pitch people the mentorship or the authority engine offer. So this is how I do it for my clients and myself. So I have a bit of a flow chart. I'll walk through it real briefly here. So everybody's got an offer and product ladder. So, you have product A, B, C, and D. Maybe it's services. Maybe it's a mix. Maybe it's just two products. Maybe it's a course, coaching, and a continuity offer like a mentorship or a community or something like that. For me, I have the mentorship, which is an ongoing offer, and I have services. Now, I do have like smaller offers like playbooks that you can buy, like mini courses on certain things like email marketing, positioning, pricing, freelancing, client acquisition. So, that's in the mix. So everybody's got an offer and product ladder. It might be an ascension ladder where you buy product A, then your next offer should be C, and then D. So we figure that out. And then we also figure out your audience segments. So in your audience, you probably have 2 or 3 segments. These are high level segments of your audience, maybe beginners, intermediate, advanced. For me, it's either freelancers who are just getting started, small studios and agencies who are established and need to scale. And third is established business owners who are time poor and cash rich to some degree and need their marketing completely done for them. So that maps conveniently to offers. So we figure out the offers that map to the segments. So segment A might need to be mapped to offer, a product A, and then you pitch it to them in a unique way. So freelancers, you would say, this is how you get started, join the mentorship. Rather than somebody who's more advanced, you would say something like, get the accountability you need to scale to 1 million. Same offer, different way of pitching it. So I map all of this out, different segments, offers to the offer ladder. Okay. And then what we do is we create the entry points. So that might be lead magnets, freebies, LinkedIn posts, content, ads, kit recommendations, creator profile, all the entry points. And we install the right message survey on the thank you page and throughout the website. You deliver the goods in the lead magnet format. If you have lead magnets, the thank you page is the survey where we gather data. We use right message, integrates deeply into Kit. When they join, they're already added to an automated list pruning loop. It's not just like a standard cold subscriber automation. It's always running for every single subscriber. We're always checking to see if they've been engaged over the last X amount of time. If they fail to meet that criteria, we add them to a probation email that checks to see, hey, you still want to be here? If not, we'll flag them to be unsubscribed. If they do pass that, then they go back and restart that loop. So always maintaining a check to see who's active here. Rather than just relying on Kit's cold subscriber tag, we want to actually have re-engagement loops, and we want to have true cold subscriber identification. When they join and they subscribe and they enter their data in the survey, we gather their audience segments and their needs, and then we calculate and map their next offer. So we might find out you are an entrepreneur doing $1 million a year, so therefore you need product D, which is the done for you service, and we personalize the wording, and then that's mapped to your custom fields. We do that with Kit automations, with liquid code in the email templates, and using right message. So we map that to the profile. If ever you ascend in your segments, we do that. We make sure that we know, okay, now you're not a freelancer, you're full-time and doing $500K a year. So therefore we need to update your needs, your wants, your goals, your pain points, your audience segment, and therefore also your offer. Should you purchase an offer, we need to ascend you up the product ladder as well. So you're not being pitched the same thing all the time. Also, we don't want you to be tired of the same offer. So when we pitch you, if we've pitched you that offer once, twice, 3 times, whatever it is, we want to toggle those offers. That works for some people. Okay, so when you join, all of this happens in the background. Offer calculation, segmentation calculation, personalized content, personalized copy, all of it, links, everything. And it's always polling and watching. And then you just get a welcome email. You don't see any of the background stuff. You get a welcome email. Thanks for joining. Here's your lead magnet. Thanks for joining. Depending on your segment, your needs, your content preferences, where you came from, what you downloaded, we send you a dynamic welcome email that is personalized to the reader. So human first marketing, human first email, human first content. That's how I approach it. That's what my business is all about, personalized human first marketing. And it talks to the person. So if you told us that you struggle with this and you really want to be able to achieve this, and here's where you're at right now, well, we integrate that into the copy. So all the copy is written and personalized to you. You get a welcome email. It sounds like I wrote it to you personally because in a sense I did. Then the following week, you get a pitch sequence. Depending on your offer, this is dynamic. It checks to see what offer should this person receive based on their segmentation data and what we've calculated. If we know that, then we send you product A, B, C, or D. Whatever your product offer ladder is, that's what we do. So I do that. I find out, ooh, this needs to be a creator engine client. Let's pitch them creator engines and get them on a call. Or, oh, this is a new freelancer. They need to start the mentorship program and let's throw in a 7-day free trial because they're probably a little bit tight on the cash. We want to convince them to stay. Or if they're more advanced, oh, they're doing fine. Let's pitch them the annual membership to get them committed and get a bit more cash flow up front. So that's the smart pitch sequence. Everyone gets their own personalized offer. You might get product A, B, or C, or D, but it's pitched X, Y, or Z ways. So there's so many moving parts here that just assembles a beautiful dynamic email just for you. Okay. Did they buy? Perfect. Well, we want to onboard them for product A, B, C, or D. And in the onboarding, we're going to run a little flywheel in the background there. We're going to gather some testimonials. We'll put them in a loop there. We'll check in maybe a month later, 2 weeks, whatever the timeline is. And we'll gather those testimonials. We'll add those testimonials dynamically using a tool like Senja and some automation so that those testimonials get added to pitch emails to further improve the pitch. Also, we might invite them to affiliate program. Now that you've joined, tell your friends, get some rewards. Perfect. Bit of a flywheel. If they didn't buy, send them to a non-buyer feedback automation. That also might be a rescue sale sequence, depending on how aggressive you want to be or how necessary it feels. If it feels right to say, hey, sounds like you struggled with the pricing of the offer. Okay, then here's a deal. Try it out for a month for free or 50% off for your first payment. Or you say like, look, I guarantee this will happen. And if it doesn't, I'll give you your money back plus a book. I don't know. Okay, after that, they get the pitch, the smart pitch, the smart onboarding, and or the non-buyer feedback or rescue sale sequence. Then we drop them into your Evergreen newsletter, your smart weekly Evergreen newsletter, also known as a nurture sequence. Some of my clients call it the nurture sequence. It's something that sends automatically every week, clockwork, without you needing to hit broadcast send. Shouldn't have to do that. So it's your best content, curated and assembled, partially dynamic. In fact, you have a personalized dynamic call to action in there. It's a block that will just understand who's reading. It'll personalize what they should see in terms of a call to action, a testimonial, a next offer, a variation on an offer, just like checking in, suggested next steps. We could put anything here. And so for me, often what I will do is I'll create a dynamic content library, and that'll be your products. So maybe you've got those 4 products. Let's say you got 12 pieces of content or 12 interviews that you've done. You have some engagement, checking in to see, hey, how are things going? And some testimonials. So we have that. Some of my clients, for example, in the human resources and leadership space, they'll have insights that they want to share based on certain topics. You might have a topic on leadership, on culture, and on safety in the workplace. And you want to be able to share 4 insights from each. So if they're reading an email on the leadership category, then pull one of these 4 or 5 leadership pieces and display it dynamically. So we can create that and add that in. We can do it dynamically. We can do it randomly. We can do it on a sequence. We could do it based on seasons. So for example, I work with a lot of small to mid-sized nonprofits. And so they have certain seasons of the year where it's really important. Like for example, Giving Tuesday or Q4, there's a lot happening in the nonprofit space, trying to get to monthly giving and donations. And so they'll want to have dynamic messaging that knows it is currently November and we are gearing up for the end of the year campaigns and Giving Tuesday. So we'll have dynamic messaging appear, overriding everything else. And a testimonial displaying for the product. We don't want a testimonial saying, hey, this course was amazing, and you're pitching your high ticket agency services. We map those together and match them up. So it's very smart. And I always create a dynamic and smart byline author card at the bottom of the emails, checking to see, are they a client? Have they already purchased? What messaging should we show here? A personalized recommendation. Maybe if they haven't given us any data and right message, we'll show that at the bottom and say, hey, I'd love to know a little bit more about you so I could tailor and personalize the content and emails that you receive from me, both here in your inbox and on our website. So we'll build that out. We'll assemble that. We use a liquid code and some custom code that we've developed to build out your Evergreen newsletter template that you can use for Evergreen newsletters, broadcasts, and everything like that. An example of what it might look like would be something like this. This is straight from my newsletter. So depending on who is reading, so this says personalized for Brad. We have their name, and the next offer was mentorship. And this person said that they needed accountability and their business size was sub 100,000. So their call to action was join the mentorship and get some accountability. Somebody who needs consistent clients and, $250,000 a year or more, their call to action is a Creator Engine services. So we'll say, hey, book a Creator Engines intensive or a discovery call and let's talk. This one here at the bottom is personalized for Michael. This is a current client in the mentorship. We're not pitching him anything. He's there. We just want to check in. How's everything going? Checking in. How's everything going on your end? Hit reply. Stuck on something? Let me know. And so that would look like this. Just kind of the system. That's how it runs. And it's closed loop. And the other thing that happens is when they are in the Evergreen newsletter, we wait 90 days. You can see it here. Or a quarter, we wait 90 days. We take them out of the Evergreen newsletter, pause them, and we pitch them again, either on the offer that they have not yet bought, or the next in the Ascension product ladder, or a variation of the same offer. So maybe they've joined the mentorship, but you sent them the pitch to the mentorship. But next time we're going to try a different angle, and we'll throw some case studies and testimonials, or we'll come at it from a different angle, and we'll check to see personalization data and personalize that email so that it sounds even more resonant to their needs. It does increase effectiveness. It does increase conversion rates. It does increase opens. And I routinely get people saying, I love your the emails sound like they're written for me, because they are. I do a lot of thinking in how to write for each of the segments. Okay, so this is laying the foundation. So this is everything that I do before I build out anything in Kit. And so my Kit is a bit of a sandbox for, as you can see, I've got a lot of automations for myself and for my clients. So I do it for my business, but I also have automations that I run that are used for my client work. So I come up with an automation idea, I build it into the system, I test it, and then I'll implement it in my client work. So what does that look like? Something like this. I have system automations, that's what I'm calling them. I have sequence automations, and I have entry automations. System automations are automations that run in the background and do something like update a profile, calculate an offer, understand, who's reading, what's the audience segment, auto list pruning, cycling you back into a pitch every 90 days, toggling back and forth between offers, calculating your lead score, decaying your lead score over time. So those are system automations. Sequence automations are actual content, as indicated by this little box emoji. It's like there's something in it, and it's usually emails. This means there are emails in here, like your Evergreen newsletter, a product pitch, a post-purchase onboarding, progressive profiling. So this would be like checking in occasionally to remind them to update their, profile. Let us know, like, hey, what are you struggling with? If we don't have data on them, we want them to fill out our right message survey, give us what we need. Makes a better email experience. A welcome sequence. And we have entry automation. So these are like your entry lead magnet points, whether it's a general newsletter subscribe, creator network joining, or like a lead magnet. Okay, so what it kind of looks like then is every time, let's say somebody joins, the new subscriber automation fires. And so it's either added by a flag tag, which is what we use to move people around, or any form. So they cannot escape this unless they're added via a tag, which don't do that. Don't do that ever. Add them to a form so you have some sort of audit trail to know where they entered from. They join. If they've completed this, we don't add them through this. We add them to the audience glossary. So this is where we just add them to various other visual automations. So we want to check to see, how do we identify them? So are they a freelancer, agency owner, HR consultant, based on whatever your audience segments are that we've mapped out. This will then add them there and then update their custom fields so that we can address them as such. Hey, Brad, as a freelancer, you struggle with this. And that's dynamic. Add to auto list pruning. So single opt-in for me all the time, but the way we do double opt-in so that we are, keeping a healthy list and not having, a bunch of emails that maybe don't want to be there. They're added to a bit of a probation, and we check to see, how engaged are they? If they're not engaged, we boot them out. If they are engaged, we run them back in the auto list pruning to make sure they're always engaged. Add to pitch cycle. Pitch cycle is every 90 days or every time the lead score hits the threshold of, let's say, 10, they're pitched. Keep in mind, there's a lead score decay. So once they get to 10, over time, that decays back down to 0. So it ebbs and flows based on their engagement and intent. Lead score decay. Add to progressive profiling. It just checks to see over time, who they are. We set the lead score to 0, we set the pitch count to 0, and we say they've completed the new subscriber setup. Great. Audience glossary is another automation that I run. Checks to see, so they're added via that new subscriber setup. Checks to see the audience segment if it changes. Where is it going to change? Either in a native Kit pull that updates a audience segment data, or specifically in right message when they update their profile, or they're running around on your site digesting content. That's strange. Learning, reading, and then it will say, oh, this person is reading a lot of this, so they're interested in this, therefore their audience segment should be this. Something like that. Audience segment changes. This will run again and check to see, did they match segment A, B, C, or whatever? Let's say they are a freelancer. Segment A, let's call it freelancer. Then we want to set their ident plural and ident singular. I learned this tactic from Brennan Dunn of Right Message. That's basically just an identity plural, identity singular, which just essentially means, how to identify them. Freelance plural would be like freelancers, and singular would be like freelancer. The trick, though, is to put the article, I believe it's called. So freelancer or an agency owner, because how you're going to use this is in a dynamic, personalized liquid snippet in your emails that says, hey, as a freelancer, you struggle with. So freelancer is dynamic, but if you don't include the article, so a freelancer, and you just say freelancer, what if the singular is agency owner? Then it's going to sound awkward when you say as a agency owner. You want it to say as an agency owner. So I include the article. Hopefully I'm getting that right, which is a or an in the singular, whereas plural, you don't have to. We know that freelancers, we know that agency owners, we know that people, we know that women, we know that so on and so forth struggle with. And so this is where that is. This just updates a custom field in their profile that we can use for dynamic call to actions, testimonials, content, segmentation. Fantastic. It's fantastic. Calculate next offer. This just determines what's their next offer. The way I determine next offers depends on the client, but as a general rule, based on when their audience segment changes, their purchase count changes, their membership status changes, or the flag tag, just adding them directly. So their audience segment might be, changed from freelancer to agency owner. Okay, well, we don't want to pitch them the freelancing course. We want to pitch them mentorship. Purchase count means they bought something. Purchase count changes when you buy something. You have a master automation that runs to say they bought something, increment their purchase count by 1, and membership status goes from churned or trial to active, monthly, annual, whatever we change it to. Now we want to update. Pitch count is going to be set to 0. We have a pitch count that runs to make sure we don't pitch them too many times. I'll show you where that is. And it matches the custom field. Their audience segment matches the custom field. And then I might do something like, if their audience segment matches, A, B, or C, or segment A, B, or C, or their membership status changes to X, Y, or Z, then, we would map that out. In fact, I could show you a really cool way I do this with another client. So same thing, if the audience segment changes or the purchase number changes or the membership status changes, we set the pitch count to 0, as you saw. But also what I'll do is we'll check to see first based on purchases. If they've purchased a specific offer, we will say, okay, if they bought this, so if they purchased this offer, then their next offer is, the next one. If they purchased another offer, then, their next offer is that, and so on and so forth. So we check to see based on purchases first. Then we'll check to see based on an audience segment. So based on the segments, you can see I've got lots of different segments here, and each of those will get different next offers. And as you can see by the numbers, people are, falling down where they need to go, and they'll all get their next best offer. And that always changes. If someone goes from segment like engaged to married and they let us know, then boom, everything recalculates. Auto list pruning, it's just when you get added, we check in 30 days, have they opened an email? If yes, cool. We're going to wait another 150 days, and then we're going to add them back to the top of this visual automation via a holding automation. I'm not going to go and explain that because that's just a little too advanced. Basically what it means is, I'm going to explain it actually. You get added to this visual automation. When you get to the bottom, we can't add you to the top of this automation again, reliably. I have done it, but you can't reliably add someone to the same automation that they're currently inside of. So what we do is we push them to a different automation, receives them. That automation says, cool, thanks for sending that person to me. I'm going to wait 5 minutes and I'm going to add them back to you. And it's just a loop. So they get added again. We go down, wait 30 days. If they have not opened an email, we just send them a cold subscriber engagement. Just says, hey, you still interested? If not, we're going to remove you. You can always unsubscribe. And it just keeps checking a few times. After that, if they fail to open any emails and they're not engaged, we will tag them with a big scary red X so that we can unsubscribe them. I don't suggest unsubscribing automatically because you never know what'll happen. You don't want to accidentally unsubscribe everyone. If something goes haywire, you want to have a safety mechanism in place. That's what this safety mechanism is. So this runs. It literally runs forever. You cannot escape this automation. Everyone's in it. So that you always know who's inactive and who is active. And then we have pitch cycle. Everyone's added to the pitch cycle via the new subscriber visual automation. And then we basically just every 90 days, we will add them to the pitch cycle. So there's a couple ways that I do this actually. So we'll either do it by, 90 days or, we'll, depending on the client. Some clients say like, I want to pitch every 30 days or I want to pitch once a year. So we'll change that. And I always update a custom field to funnel_location. And I use universal language like pitch, Evergreen, welcome, something like that. And then I'll go ahead and in the subscriber page in Kit, I'll just create segments that say current location, pitch, current location, welcome sequence, current location, Evergreen newsletter, current location, subscriber probation, or whatever, onboarding, offboarding. And that way we just kind of know where people are. And then we can do things like when we send a broadcast, or if we are sending a pitch email or a campaign, we can exclude people in certain locations, like if they're in a pitch. So what happens here is it checks to see if the funnel location contains the word pitch. Then what we do is we add them back to the pitch cycle holding and we go back to the top. So we don't pitch them. We don't want to send them a pitch if they're already in a pitch. So smart. Then what we do is we go down, we check to see if their pitch count is greater than or equal to 4. We change that for every client. This basically means if we've pitched them 4 times or more if we pitch them 4 times on this same product, we don't want to do it again too many times. 4 times, every 90 days, you got basically a year. So if you pitch them 4 times over the year on this specific product, then we're going to stop. So it'll exit them. It'll just add them back to the pitch cycle holding, and it will just keep going through. If their pitch count is still 4, then it will just keep exiting. Pitch count resets when we recalculate their next offer. So if their offer was freelancer course and they were pitched that 4 times and they didn't buy, then they're not going to get this automatic 90-day pitch anymore. But let's say in the Evergreen newsletter and the dynamic call to action, they do buy the freelancer course. Now we've updated their purchases and their audience segment or their purchase in their custom field, and we reset the pitch count. We recalculate to the next offer. We want to be able to pitch them the next offer. So we don't want to remove them from an every 90-day pitch forever, only when they're just not buying the thing. Okay, everything's good. They passed. Then we pitch the next offer. This is the flag tag that sends them to another visual automation. Notice how everything is very modular. I do it that way because it's so much cleaner to see. It's so much cleaner to update and isolate and to push people around where we want them to go rather than in one big, dirty visual automation. Okay. Then pitch next offer decision. So that is I have a couple of these. I do it a couple different ways. So we either add them via flag tag or when the lead score changes to 10 or 5 or 30 or whatever it is. Also, we have a lead score decay, which I'll show you, which eats away at this lead score. So if they get to 10, like they click your call to action link 10 times in a month, then their lead score will stay at 10. But it shouldn't. Over time, that should decay unless they keep clicking your call to action to keep that lead score afloat. Bet you didn't know you could do that. So we then reset the lead score to 0 once they are being pitched because we don't need the lead score to be 10 anymore. We are currently taking action on their intent. Then we check to see, have they recently been pitched? If they have, exit. Then we check to see what their custom field is for next offer. If the next offer is product A, B, or C, or freelancer course, courses, services, whatever your offer is, then we add a flag tag pitch to whatever that visual automation is and we send them that way. Otherwise, we add them to our Evergreen newsletter. After they have been pushed to that pitch automation, whatever their pitch is, then what we do is we set the custom field last pitch to a Unix timestamp using S. So it's seconds. So this is dynamic and it will literally say what are the seconds since the beginning of the Unix timestamp origin. And it's just a big number and it's precise. We just know exactly. Why do we use that? Because we can calculate if right now is greater than the timestamp that was added to when they were pitched. We just need to know precisely when they were pitched. So whatever the Unix timestamp is for right now, that'll be in their custom field. We can check to see if we want to send a segment broadcast or we do a segment. We could say if it's been greater than this many days since this timestamp, then we're safe to send them a pitch. That's why that's there. It's pretty advanced. We don't always use it, but it is there just in case. It's nice to have precise data on when they were pushed around to different things like a pitch. We add the pitch count plus 1. So we can see they've been pitched 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. And then we add the tag pitched recently, which we check here on their next pitch. We have a pitch offer toggle as well. This is something I'll do if a client of mine has just like one offer and we don't need to like ascend a product ladder, then what we do is just toggle back and forth. Let's say you have speaking and consulting. I work with a lot of HR coordinators and leaders and consultants, business executive, like business coaches that just do speaking and consulting for various, C-suite leaders, teams, governments, agencies, and whatnot. And they will toggle, speaking and consulting. And we'll personalize it to who's reading. But we'll do something like, okay, let's say they were pitched. They come down, their last pitch was it product A? If it was not, meaning they've never been pitched before, or was product B, then they get pitched product A or consulting. Then we set their last pitch custom field to product A, pitch date, pitch count, pitched recently. The next time they come through here on their 90-day pitch or a force pitch or a lead score trigger, we go down and we say, okay, now their last pitch matches product A, which means, yes, let's now pitch them variation B, which might be speaking or whatever. And then last pitch is product B. Now they go through the next time, it'll be product A, product B, product A, product B. Total of 4 times, they stop. That's how we do that. Calculating a lead score. This is just based on if they click a link trigger increments a lead score. Then we do a lead score decay. Lead score decay says, okay, when they're in here, we want to do a couple things. If they've opened an email in the last 60 days and their lead score is greater than 0, which means they are active, then we want to minus their lead score by 1. And then add them to the lead score holding, which adds them back to here. And then it does it again. Checks to see in the last 60 days. And the lead score holding doesn't come right away. It actually waits, I think, 30 days. It does, 30 days, so that we're not within minutes eating their lead score back to 0. It's like it happens monthly. And then we check to see if they've not opened an email, then we set their lead score to 0. What if they were engaged in January? Like they were engaged and they had like 9 lead score points, and then they never opened your emails for 3 months. Then we want to just reset their lead score. They're not engaged anymore. That's how this works. And then we use it in smart ways. And then what I will do is send them a welcome sequence. The welcome sequence is dynamic depending on whoever's reading it. So this is a simple version of the sequence. You get added when you join your lead magnet, then you get added to the welcome sequence. The welcome sequence is here, and you might have a personalized version of that welcome sequence. Let me show you a client. So it's what one of the clients looks like. So they get added to the welcome sequence. Everyone gets a general welcome email while we're waiting for personalization data to come in for their survey. And then the next 3 emails are personalized based on their segment. And that is all here. Completed the welcome sequence, then they get added to pitch next offer. After their welcome sequence, then they'll get the pitch next offer. It goes to that visual automation pitch next offer right here, and then that pushes them into whatever their pitch is. Let's say it's product A, B, or C. Then it just pulls them through. We remove them from their Evergreen newsletter. We set the funnel location to pitch product A so we can check to see if they are in a pitch, if the custom field contains that word. Then we add them to a pitch. That pitch is just their, however many emails. Write good copy, personalize it using Liquid, set the last pitch to whatever the product was, and then add to Evergreen newsletter. So then what we do is we add them to the Evergreen newsletter, and that is nice and simple. They get added, funnel location is Evergreen newsletter, and then they just get the Evergreen newsletter sequence. And then what happens here is they get the dynamic content. So for example, my Evergreen newsletter looks a little like this. So they get the intro email. It's personalized in the footer here. So depending on who's reading, they'll see various different things. And then the Evergreen newsletter is here. So, and then they'll have a smart card and the smart ending here, the smart byline author card. So this call to action here is dynamic based on who's reading. So we have safe fallback here, but depending on who's reading, that will change, as you can see here. based on who's reading. And that's based on the liquid logic that I custom write for myself and my clients. I actually built software that helps me to write it to speed things up. But you can see I'm using snippets here. And so that snippet might look something like this. I call it the creator engine. It's the creator engine snippet. So the logic behind it is a lot of liquid, and it's generally customized to the client based on a number of things. So this is what one of them might look like. Another one might look a lot more intense, and that runs, and that pre-fills based on your write message, the copywriting that we'll put together for you or you write for us, and all these different varying factors that will then display in the email. And it's all a big loop. It just keeps running and running and running. So all you have to do then is just send your people to your lead magnets, to your forms, to your newsletter forms. And that's what I do. So you can see here, people are joining from requesting more info about my course. They're watching my Creator Engines webinar, coming from the Creator Network. I have a toolbox, and just like a general newsletter opt-in, people wanting information about my mentorship. And then that will be based on, certain forms. And then they will get added to my system. And that's what I do for me. And that's what I do for all my clients. And doing it this way is very advanced. I don't expect everyone to do it this way, but all my clients, they get it this way. So that's how I use Kit.